Welcome, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread? First two cards we are starting our day off with today. Let's get through it. Okay. The only way out is through. All right, guys, let's get to it. We've got here, listen. Remember what I mentioned? So before we started the podcast, I was talking about the fact that a little bit of this energy it's grinding the gears energy. Okay. It's 10 of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our 6 of Swords in its reversal. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on here. So I'm going to keep pointing this out. I know everybody gets all like everybody always wants to raise the roof when we have these eclipse cycles. As someone who reads, I'm always just like strapping in for the eclipse come down, right? Because remember what I always say when we have these eclipse cycles, which is, and this is why we talk, like there's a lot of the reason that eclipse cycles are identified as chaotic is because they don't have a characteristic. Okay, you can't define them. It's just like a volume knob. It amplifies the energetic feeling that you find them in, right? It's like the crowd goes wild kind of energy. Like it just brings the volume up. Now, remember what I said. Remember what I said during this eclipse cycle as it relates to. And this is why we often talk about the fact that, you sometimes hear others, like I'm not the only one who says you don't need to feel the need to work with every like eclipse cycle. Because sometimes just keeping like this, sometimes being able to find that point of balance, I just got to tell you, if you're able to navigate an eclipse season and just keep consistent, you are just pat yourself on the back. Take a little run around the field. You've done great. Because the thing is, and this is why, here's the thing about it. It's very easy to get energetically triggered during eclipse cycles. It's very easy to move off of one's own intentionality, right? Because I told you, it's like a little bit of that princess and the pea energy, like something that would typically not bother you. You know what I mean? Like it feels like it's overwhelming, right? It feels good to let off energetic steam. It feels good to let off frustration. But again, and that's why we talk about the fact that when you're coming through an eclipse cycle, it's not that you can't do something. It's just you have to be intentional when you do it, right? It's to save you the trouble of coming out of the eclipse cycle and being like, I said what I said, versus saying, oh no, what did I say? Right? Because sometimes, and that's usually how we can define it, right? When we feel those moments where like it feels good, like when it feels good to do something, like it sometimes it doesn't move us. It's not intentional. It just feels like it's energetically indulgent to the moment. But when we're building into that context where we're able to be energetically stable, they can feel reaffirming. Right. And that's the thing with like energetic cycles, like the way, like what we're seeing here, because there's a lot of this energy that we're identifying and recognizing as it relates to chariot lessons. Now let's talk about chariot lessons. What are chariot lessons? Chariot lessons are working through those modalities that have to talk about the determination, right? The energy by which we need to find within ourselves to start something. This is like new commitment energy. This is like resolution energy. This is the type of energy that we would typically ascribe and identify for like way back in January. We're having it now. Happy New Year, right? Because building into the context of resolution, this is incubation energy, right? But because I'll tell you right now, right? Let's talk about Mercury and Venus, both in retrograde together. Seeing things about the self. Oh, I hate that. You know what I mean? Like looking potentially back on something of the, like in the past being like, oh, I hate that. Right. And when we have that moment, right. And this is what we talk about, not projecting that frustration out, but fortifying the self with it, building into the context of what we feel that we can change within ourselves. This energy is like the incubation area. Like this is the incubation energy that allows us to feel that sense of building into the determination point of what feels like it is important to us. Now, this is very important right now because we've got Neptune transiting out of Pisces into Aries. And what are the lessons that we often recognize and identify that occur with Neptune lessons, right? Neptune lessons are interestingly often about not dwelling on things, right? Because here's the thing about it. When Neptune moves, there's a lot of emotional release that we often experience because you have to think about Neptune lessons much like the ocean. And what are the lessons that the ocean gives us, right? Neptune says you can have depth. You can also have direction. Don't confuse the two, right? Like the ocean is deep, but you can also sail across it, right? There's an ability to understand that when we, like the lessons that we often see wrapped up in Neptune, have to say that when we have emotions and we don't dwell in them, right? When we don't feel overwhelmed by them, when we take the emotions and we allow them to stir us, right? Instead of being stirred, instead of being like, if they allow us to stir ourselves instead of stirring within them, right? This is the difference between churning and moving, right? This is the difference between like working in that context of feeling like frustrated versus having those moments or modalities where we feel like they're like, it's like a lot of that energy as it relates to being able to build upon the pathwork of the self and understanding. Now, one of the things that, again, we identify and recognize during a lot of these cycles is, and this is why I'm seeing that this is having that occurrence point right now, and a lot of heavy shifting for energy and separation. I am seeing one of three different modalities that are occurring right now in separation. I am seeing moments where someone recognizes that the limitation point in a conversation they're having with another has to do with what one is hoping to feel or what one is hoping to do in that conversation, right? Because, and let's talk about this, you know, sometimes we hit those moments like what happens, we talk a lot about this here, what happens when we hold on to something too tightly? Remember everything we said. What were all those lessons that came through during the back there during the Mars retrograde? What were the lessons that we were recognizing and identifying, right? Being a good warrior has to be about surrender. Does surrender mean giving up? No. Surrender does not mean giving up. Surrender means letting go of things that we insist on, right? Because when we hold on to something that is not important, we lose our focus in relationality to what is, right? We lose our focus in terms of what it is that we're trying to build towards. So we see even now that there's potentially, so that ability of, again, trying to look, I keep on seeing, trying there are relationships that are coming into closure points because there's an identification point between the difference of one person dwelling upon something, right? Ruminating on it, not being able to let go of it, right? Versus another person saying, the only way the only way we can go forward is if you let go, right? This is what we talk about. Like you can't hold on to something when you're moving in the directionality of a relationship, because that ability of holding on to something, that's like your hands are full. Like when you're so focused on something from the past, it doesn't allow any ability or context by which to move forward. So we keep on seeing that these are potentially some very frustrating release, like energy of release that's occurring in this context, because this is energy that like is working through the context of potentially recognizing, I keep on hearing the wall, like the wall of someone that wants to hold on to something, but isn't allowing the context by which something productive can occur, right? So there's like, it's a lot of that, like, and those moments, it feels like you want to tear your hair out. Like, you're like, and I need to just find, like, if someone cannot articulate what can be done to fix something, you sometimes feel like you're at an energetic impasse point. Right? And so I keep on seeing that there's some energy right now that's like storming away from a situation or circumstance, but feeling like storming. I told you the frustration that moves you, the frustration that empowers you, because it's not the frustration of giving up on something. It's the frustration in seeing the limitation that is creating an impossibility matrix. While as I see another energy right now, I see another modality of energy and separation that is articulating upon instances and experiences just like this as they build into new energetic connections, right? That modality of like feeling those moments that you literally say, I was like, like nothing. And like, that's the energy. It often says nothing I could do would fix it. And it's like almost the moment that when you say that, suddenly you understand and recognize it, right? Like that moment that we kind of see at times that feels like it is expansive. But it's frustrating, right? And here's the thing about it. Like there's something that's happening right now for energy coming into divine union, coming out of separation and moving into divine union, which is feeling the relief and release of someone that shares mutual frustration. Because what happens when we share mutual frustration? We understand the modality that occurs when it feels like we're trying to work on something in a context that like we understand. I keep on saying that we understand the energetic assignment, and we talked a lot about this, because what happens in those moments where, again, I keep on seeing these are energies that are healing from situations of the past, which were like, woe is me or woe is you, right? Because that ability, right? When we ask for someone to fix something, like when we say that we actively want to fix something and another person says, no, it's all your fault. What is someone saying? I can't do anything. It's up to you to fix, right? When we have those moments that we want to fix something, we say, I guess I'm the worst. I'm sorry you have to put up with this. It's the same exact energy saying, I'm not going to change. It's up to you to deal with. And so this is the energy. I literally have energy and separation, like saying to each other, nobody wants to work anymore. Because the energy that's coming together, I told you, it's chariot energy. They know what it takes to fix things, and dwelling doesn't fix things, fixes things. While for masculine and feminine coming into divine union, this is the same kind of energy, because this is the energy I keep on seeing that is understanding the assignment of the self. And the thing is, and this is the thing about it, it's a perpetual assignment. Like that's just the thing about it. There's never a point in one's own spiritual journey that you reach and you go, I've done it. Hooray. Like, I'm good now. I'm finished. It don't work that way. It's the sacred perpetual assignment of the self. It is always being able to identify those spaces and in places that are improving, those places and spaces that we learn to grow. And that's why we have to be very compassionate and patient with ourselves in that progress, right? Because it's not like it's a constant perpetual unfolding, right? It's not about arrival. It's about continually finding oneself. And so I keep on seeing that there's a lot of energy right now that's coming into divine union, and they're giving themselves the pat of consolation in saying, look how far you've come. And then feeling the depth of gravity of saying, look how far more you have to go, right? Like, it's twofold. So that's what we're effectively seeing there. Now, for masculine and feminine right now, deep within divine union, I keep on getting the same message here, which is like, this is energy right now, Taurus and Gemini lessons, which is, it feels very protective. It feels very like I keep on hearing, how do I describe this? This is the energy, and I literally feel like the reason that the divine and the energy deep within divine union is feeling so energetically protective right now is because of so much of this vulnerability that we see is occurring right now for the energy coming into divine union and the energy in separation, right? I keep on seeing, like, in a way, like the energy within divine union is the shell, right? It's interesting. It's almost like it's the energy that builds into the context of building into resiliency and tenacity right now, right? because everything that we're seeing there, like it's a lot of that energy that says that when something is important, we work to energetically protect it. That's why we kept on having the message that was coming through, the exquisite insistence of the sacred knot. Because when we care about something, we often say no. It's not a knot like a knot with a K. It's a knot with like a no, because that ability of identifying and feeling protective about something, the reason we can identify that it's not stubborn is because we can explain why it is important. It helps us see the higher self in the process of saying the negation point. Continuing to get clarification, center card in our 5-card spread. We've got our world card in its upright. And there's something really beautiful about that, because, you know, one of the things that we're seeing to a certain extent is I keep on seeing like, and I got to describe this right now. Remember how I was talking about Renaissance energy? Remember how I was talking about Renaissance energy? There's something really important here, because it feels like, and I think that this is the one thing, this is the thing I have to describe that's happening right now that's kind of intriguing, is like we were moving forward into Aries and now there's energy pulling back into Pisces. It's because of the retrograde, which is like, whoop, wait, I forgot some emotions here. I got to bring them with me, right? It's like, it's carrying, it's about identifying, it's about understanding and recognizing the things that energetically matter, right? It's like, it's being able to articulate. And there's a lot of that space of identifying. And I want to say this, I keep on telling you guys, like the joke I keep on making right now is, what do you call, like Saturn, Mercury and Neptune are all jammed up together. What, like Saturn, Neptune, and I mean, actually, correction, right? So here's the thing. Saturn is coming towards the energy right now. Mercury, give me a minute. Mercury, Venus, and Neptune, are walk into a bar. And what do you have? You've got a nostalgia factory. You've got a lot of the ability of looking back on the past and looking with like a lot of that sentimentality, right? There's that sediment that gets stirred when Neptune moves, which is like, oh, it's never going to be like that. But then here comes Saturn coming towards those planets and going, but anything is possible, right? Anything is, if it like that, I keep on hearing like Saturn now moving up as well, like to join that energy is the articulation that when we look in the context of time, you know, the time we give ourselves, right? Like it almost feels like, I keep on seeing like there's something about that feels like Saturn entering the equation to a certain extent. It almost feels encouraging. It feels energetically reinforcing, right? Because it has to do with understanding the context of things that are important via v perpetuity. Things that are important in the perception of perpetuity, and often ways that we can identify and recognize things that move us towards our higher self or our energetic ideal I keep on hearing, is the miracle of a dream that exists in perpetuity, right? Like that is how we can identify and recognize the higher self. Because it moves beyond us. It always stands before us. It surrounds us. And our own ability of recognizing it and identifying it helps us move closer towards that ideal. Now, for masculine and feminine energy, this is what I keep on seeing. Like that's the space of saying, and this is why I keep on hearing the energy that's saying to one another, in that ability to take something apart, is saying this isn't the energy trying to take something apart because they don't care about it. Remember, this is energy that's looking at the past and taking it apart so they can build it together. They can build back better anew, right? This isn't the energy that is having a breakdown. This is the energy that's working on a breakthrough, right? This is the energy that's saying that when we're in the midst of that, holding on to the past too much doesn't allow us to build into the present context of what we can do, right? And that's what's beautiful about, I got to tell you, that's what's kind of beautiful right now with like, you know, like Neptune, Saturn, and Mercury all together right now, right? Because Neptune, it's like you want to look backwards and you want to just get like you know, it's very easy to get lost reminiscing on the past, right? And what does Mercury say? So Mercury says snap out of it. We got work to do, right? And Saturn says we've got the time, and that's what Saturn, which is helping us identify and recognize the utilization and value point and relationality to allowing for the context of time. Now, one of the things, continuing to get clarification here, fourth and fifth card in our 5-card spread, we've got here our Knight of Swords in its upright in combination with our 3 of Wands in its upright. Now, one of the things that we're recognizing and identifying right now has to do with working through that context of frustration, right? This card, I keep on telling you guys, this card has been popping up like the entirety of the eclipse cycle. Like this card is like it's working through frustration. And this is what we talk about in relationality to working through frustration. You know, when we feel frustration, when we're not in a space that we can navigate frustration, it's very easy. Like the indulgence point of frustration is wanting to project it out or wanting to over internalize it, right? But here's the thing, you're the worst or I'm the worst doesn't get anything done, right? That's what we talk about. Like when we're on the pathwork of healing, we let go of blame because blame is working through the context. Like often when we're feeling blame, we have to identify accountability. So when we're trying to work on the self, it's like blame just feels like it feels unnecessary. It doesn't feel like it's energetically productive, right? The context by which we understand says that when we harbor things from the past, it doesn't allow the context by which we can build forth into the present. So I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy right now in separation, having those type of conversations feels like a breath of relief because I can almost see some energy in separation going through, I keep on hearing, going through the lunacy of trying to articulate to another saying, yeah, I wanted to fix something with someone, but they were so fixated on something that broke that there was nothing that we could do to get beyond it, right? Like that's the energy that says, like when someone, like when something isn't working, and you're trying to fix it, but another person is just bemoaning the fact that it's not working, it doesn't leave your hands free to do anything about it, you know? So it's like a lot of that energy that like works through the frustration of having to expand, being like, and I can see the energy saying those moments of saying, you know, sometimes those situations, you don't want to walk away from them, but when you observe the absurdity of a situation, you know, like I see the energy throwing, like you see this is like the energy that feels the throw of frustration. And I always like to point this out. The 3 of Wands for me, like the 3 of Wands for me is always like the throwing the hands up. Like, what are you going to do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do? Like, you know, it's like when it's like, you know, it's like, it's a little bit of that, right? It's the frustration that says, you know, like sometimes I keep on hearing, like sometimes like it's just that moment that you're like, you know, there was nothing else to do, but you know, like it's like you see the problem, and it's like, and the problem has a solution, but because someone is refusing to let go of the problem, there can't be a solution, right? A lot of work in terms of the difference between energy that dwells versus energy that tries to move through the thing inside them that wants to harbor, right? While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, I keep on seeing this energy saying better, not bitter. Better, not bitter, right? And that's really important because often we talk about this. In the pathwork of awakening, we look back and we see things. Sometimes they look worse. Sometimes they look worse. Sometimes we go look back, we go, oh my God. Sometimes we look back, we go, holy moly. But in that space, and sometimes we have a holy moly moment to ourselves, and sometimes we have a holy moly moment to something that we navigated, right? But in that moment, we don't, again, we work towards, like, we just move through it. We just move, like, because again, better, not bitter. Right? When we hold on to the past too tightly, it starts to, it will, when we hold on to things from the past too tightly, it starts to poison our present. Like that's why we talk about better, not bitter. Because when we hold on to things, one way we can identify that we are holding on to something that is not in our highest good is when we feel that moment that we're holding on to something that is just making us more and more and more and more bitter, right? When we hold on to something and it feels like it clarifies to us, it feels like it builds a context of compassion, we can usually tell that, again, that's that exquisite insistence, right? That's the higher self that's holding on to something, saying, yo, 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 this is important. Okay, like this is important. Like this is important. Right? And I feel like that's something that's coming through right now across the frequencies, right? And I can see some energy here saying I see some energy in separation that's literally saying it's heartbreaking because there was some kind of situation that they potentially wanted to fix with someone, but like someone was becoming so bitter in the context of not being able to let go of something that it just makes an impossibility point. Right? And that's not wanting different things. That's potentially having to heal from a situation or circumstance where someone did not have an ability to let go. But here's the thing, and this is what's going to be a little bit difficult here. I want you to understand this. Some of those spaces, it's not that it can't be let go of. For some energy, what they're holding on to, it's because it's energetically important. And we've talked a little bit about this. We talk about those modalities that allow us to have healthy separations. Right? Those moments that we say, like, this isn't something that I can overcome. Like I keep on hearing, we can hold each other even in the moment that we recognize that something is different between us, and I keep on seeing that I actually feel like there's something kind of beautiful occurring right now in separation as around energy that's working to build a context wherein not only are they moving into either new energetic frequencies, but they're learning how to separate in a way that doesn't create trauma. That's really important. Continuing to get clarification between 10 of Pentacles in its reversal and our 7 of Swords. I already got the message coming through. Yep, we talk about this here. How is trauma formed? Trauma is formed in situations that lack reason. Trauma informs when something feels like it starts to move into a space that it doesn't make any sense. So I keep on seeing, and I can literally hear some energy right now in separation saying, I had to move away from something when something stopped making sense. Because that was the energy that I almost see. I almost hear this energy saying to a certain extent that they recognized, I keep on hearing, they recognized that they were moving in the direction of something that was going to become trauma by being able to recognize and identify something they were trying to do that doesn't make sense. Right? And it's often in those moments, and this is like how we heal, right? It's in that moment that we identify something and say that's not reasonable, right? Like what I would need to pull from the self in order to perpetuate a connection would have been unreasonable. What another was trying to do in order to try to stay and maintain a connection was unreasonable. I keep on hearing there's a lot of energy right now that's either building into a new energetic connection by articulating the delicacy by which they tried to move away from something they realized wasn't in alignment, by articulating what was occurring throughout, right? Or these are situations and circumstances where someone is identifying and saying to another, I keep on hearing, the irrationality of a circumstance that makes connection impossible. Continuing to get, and that's happening across all the frequencies. And that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of this energy right now that is coming into divine union. Sometimes we see that about ourselves when we look back in the past, right? Sometimes, again, part of the healing journey is looking back on something and being like, wow, I was being completely unreasonable, right? Like sometimes those moments we look back and we identify that. But again, the beauty, like the context of building into it and something that's beautiful is being able to recognize and identify that work on the self, right? It's in those moments or in that experience that we are able to, again, and what do we have happening right now? Remember how we said that the energy in separation was working on disassembling? This is a lot of energy right now coming into divine union. I told you these lessons move up and down the frequencies. They are also working on disassembling something that they see about themselves from the past that was uncomfortable in order to build into the context of the new standards that they're holding themselves to as they move forward from this time. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy right now, deep within divine union, the best way I can recognize and identify some of the work that we're seeing in this context has to do, like I said, like working through that pathwork of consistency, working through that pathwork of determination, building into that context of being able to recognize and identify and holding oneself to an energetic standard, right? And allowing that ability of doing so. Like I keep on seeing, like there's a little bit of this energy that doesn't look for a qualitation point in relationality to what it takes. This is the energy that, again, I keep on hearing the reason, the reason this feels like so much of the pathwork between Gemini and Taurus to a certain extent is because it talks about the fact that when we're trying to build towards an energetic standard, all it takes is all it takes, right? When you're trying to when you're trying to make an even ground, you don't get all bound up in relationality to like how much it takes of the self. You just build towards that moment. You just build towards that energetic standard point. Some days it's easy. Some days it feels harder. Right? It's navigating the fact that in order to build into the context of that inch, sometimes it feels like it takes a mile to reach that inch, and sometimes it takes a breath, is what I keep on seeing. But that's the thing. You don't focus on what it takes. All that's important is standing into the space of the standard. Continuing to get clarification between our Seven of Swords in combination with our World card and its upright. One card to clarify, please. There's a lot of air sign energy right now. I want to investigate this further, but I think it has something to do, like it's saying to me, like there's a lot of like, I keep on seeing like the nice thing when we have a lot of air sign communication is it allows for a lot of clear thinking, is what I keep getting. Like and this is important because yesterday we had so many wands. Like we had so many wands coming through in the reading. If you want to go see, if you want to take a look at the spread, you can find it over on the Substack. But, there's something really important about the fact that being able, it's giving me I remember how I said energy's trying to find the words. Okay. If you go back to a few weeks ago, I was saying working through Pisces into Aries is trying to find, trying to catch your breath, trying to find the words, right? Trying to find that direction sense. And I keep on seeing that a lot of this energy here, it feels like Gemini. It feels like a lot of that energy in Gemini because it's bouncing. It's like I keep on seeing bouncing ideas around, right? It's giving me spaghetti on the wall kind of energy. I love Gemini energy for this because I always like to point this out. Gemini energy to me, and this is why it's hard to define Geminis. It's a little bit of a grab bag. You know what I mean? I always like to describe Gemini energy is a little bit of shake the bag and reach in and see what comes out. But that's the thing. It's scribble energy, right? Gemini energy is incredible because it's Swiss Army energy. It's it's like a Swiss Army knife. It's whatever, Geminis often embody that space of feeling like they lack definition because Geminis show up and say, what do you need? You know what I mean? What do you need? I'll do it. You know what I mean? It's a lot of that work in that context. So I keep on seeing that there's a lot of there's a lot of energy right now in terms of I keep on hearing rapid fire, bouncing ideas around, feeling some kind of that excitability point. And I feel like a lot of this has to do with the fact that, and it's a little bit confusing right now. It's recognizing, and I got to tell you again, an old idea made new. Right? I keep on telling you guys, the reason it's Renaissance energy, we've got Mercury pulling back, Neptune moving forward, an old idea made new, or being able to see something from the past out of a new context. This is why for a lot of as I'm knocking my mic all over the place, apologies to those listening to the podcast, that was my hand. But so, for energy and separation, a lot of this kind of energy, that's why I keep on seeing, it feels like energy that's going, I keep on hearing the energy going, I keep on hearing the energy that's saying it's saying to me cut energy, but also also relief energy. Why do we see that? Because this is the energy, like I told you, if this is an energy where something came from the past and someone was expecting or anticipating transformation, but instead of transformation, another person's just still in the same modality, dwelling in the same things, like holding on to something. I can see some energy being like, this is exactly like it's like the real rival that confirms the issue in relationality to what was the difficulty point. Whereas I see some energy right now building into connection that feels that breath of relief, right? Like that energy when you're trying to explain something to another and they get it, and you just you want to laugh so hard that you want to scream, because it's like, finally, it's like you feel like that moment of someone who gets you, that makes you feel like you're not energetically alone, right? Because again, like that, and I keep on seeing that's the energy that I keep on hearing the energy. I keep on hearing the energy saying thank God, I thought it was only me, right? Because sometimes when we're having those moments and we're recognizing something, it's in the ability to articulate it to another, and the other person says, no, you're making perfect sense. Then someone says, oh, thank goodness. Am I it's, in that moment that someone says you're making sense, you're like, okay, good. And that's why we keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is energy making sense of their past, right? This is energy making sense of their past. And sometimes when we make sense of our past, we're like, oh man, yeah, that was me. No, that was them. We see things in ways that there's clarity, but I keep on hearing that's why the energy is saying better, not bitter, right? Not holding bitterness to that past, but recognizing that often the context by which we see something means that we have the ability, we're either in the process of already changing from something, or we're in the process of energetically healing from something. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, I keep on hearing the same thing that's coming through Gemini and Taurus, the exquisite insistence of the sacred knot, identifying conversations about the difference between stubbornness and something that is significant and important. And again, we're going to talk about it again. How can we tell the difference between stubbornness and something that the higher self insists upon? Because when we're feeling stubborn, right, when we're holding on to something, right, when we're holding on to something, why are you holding on to that? Because it feels good, right? Because it feels good. It feels good. Whenever we have the answer, it feels good. That's the ego. That's the ego. Right? But when we come into those spaces, or when we come into those places where we recognize and we amplify, right? When something's important to us and we hold to when we stick to it, and someone says why, we say, how much time you got? I'll be very happy. I will walk you through it again and again and again. It doesn't allow for that context, it's like the higher self is always like, we will sit down and have a cup of tea over this for infinity until I can explain to you how important this is. Continuing to get clarification between the World card in combination with our Knight of Swords in its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Sun card in its reversal. It's all about what you do with a less than ideal situation. I got a news flash for you. Nothing is ever ideal. Nothing is ever. There's never been a moment in all of history where anything felt like it was energetically ideal. Perfect is something that we strive towards. It's not something that we arrive at. It's not about sitting there and saying, well, it's not the best time. It's understanding the best time is whenever we choose to be in that moment. And that's why I keep on hearing that for a lot of this energy, there's a lot of conversations and separation as it relates to energy that says, yeah, the reason is because, when we always are looking, and this is why we talk about the fact that when we're in a space and we're trying to build into a relationship and someone says the reason they're not giving us a relationship is because something's not perfect, that is an illusion. Nothing is ever perfect. That is a Zeno's paradox. Perfect is not found, it's made. We make perfection with ourselves. We identify what that is. We don't demand it from those around us. And when we are in alignment, when we move towards the same manifestation goals, we see the perfect in one another, because it doesn't create the context by which we have to be perfect, but our flaws become facets, right? The things that we are hard about ourselves, we recognize, we're self-aware, we continue to work upon, we continue to strive for. And the person who loves us in that context sees us in that space and says, you are perfect, both in the space that you exist and also in the place that you aspire to be. While for masculine and feminine energy, that is deep within, and that's happening across all of the frequencies, right? It's not about, and again, and often when we dwell, right? When we come into that space and we just throw our hands up and say, this, when we blame others for it or we blame ourselves, we don't allow for the context by which we can identify what it is that we can do to move towards that ideal. And so I see even now, like I told you, this is why this is chariot energy, because I keep on hearing that this is the energy across the frequencies that says they know that ideal isn't something found, it's something made, and they work towards it. Right? They don't give all the reasons why not. They always find a reason why. Continuing to get clarification between our Knight of Swords in combination with our Three of Wands in its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? This card has also been coming through right now like hotcakes. We've got here our Strength card in its reversal. And I love the Strength card in its reversal. I'll tell you right now, I will tell you right now, I prefer a Strength card in its reversal any day of the week over a Strength card in its upright. Because again, a big misnomer with the tarot is assuming that the reversal means the opposite. It doesn't. It doesn't mean the opposite. Strength in its reversal doesn't mean a lack of strength. It is identifying strength and vulnerability. That when we do that work, when we work to build into the context of understanding the self, finding that vulnerability, being able to face our fears, being able to navigate, remembering that courage is the articulation point of being able to face something that we are energetically afraid of within ourselves. This is how our love feels like love. And I can see a lot of this energy and separation talking towards that. And this is why I keep on telling you these partnerships right now are chariot partnerships. They're careful. This is not energy looking for love. This is energy looking for love that feels like love. Because when we feel a lot for another person, but we haven't done the work of overcoming our fears, then the fear we try to give another will not feel like love. It will feel like fear. And this is the energy that says not only do they have the capacity to feel, but they're constantly doing the work to face their fears. And that doesn't mean running full tilt to the fear. That doesn't mean avoiding the fear, but being able to confront the things in the self and navigating with a point of bravery so that their love feels like love. And that is the energy that, again, in the ability to disassemble how they feel, even in the ability now of being able to articulate their frustrations and recognize and identify where the work is, this energy is saying to one another in separation, you are safe with me because I am stoic. And stoic does not mean that we don't feel. Stoic is not disassociation. Stoicism is finding the strength within to feel all of the feelings, but not letting it move your focus towards the higher self as it relates to the determination of where you're moving on your journey. Continuing to get clarification between the Wheel of Fortune in its reversal in combination with our Two of Swords in its upright. May I have one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with the Magician in its reversal, right? And I had to tell you right now, like the thing that I keep on seeing across all the energy, what is the energy that is healing saying to one another? I'm not perfect. What is and that's okay. Like that's the energy. You have to understand that's not the energy that says that. That's not the energy that says that in a place of resignation. That is the energy that says, I'm not working towards perfect. I'm working towards exquisite. I'm not working on a sense of perfection outside the self. I'm working on a perfection within the self. I'm working in the recognition of identifying my higher self. And when we're working towards the higher self, we don't feel like that space of like, this is why we talked about a lot of the lessons that we were recognizing and identifying and working through during this cycle feel so difficult. And remember how I told you, if you're someone who is looking for a lot of external validation right now, Finding external validation during Venus and Mercury retrogrades is like very difficult because it's like it creates a lot of that outside distortion point, seeing things in ways that feel like it's hard, making things look like they're worse. But when we find that internal mirror, when we hold ourselves to the standard of the self and we see that perception of ourselves, we find our strength from within, because that ability to connect upon that, that's the energy that says, and even as we do this, often finding the self feels like that journey of stumbling upwards, right? We're never there. We're never there. We're never there. It's always a little bit up there, a little bit higher up there. We continue to move towards that. And we hold ourselves in a space of compassion on every step of that journey. And there's something really beautiful about this for the energy across all of the frequencies right now. I keep on hearing the energy right now building into the new energetic connections that does not look for perfection each other. They look for the ability to identify what that work is. They work towards that ability of not holding on too much to the past, right? And this is important, right? It's not that you don't let go of the past. Why would you let go of the past? The past is like everything that's ever happened to you. It's where all your lessons are. This is the energy that works to hold their past lightly, to be able to look at it, to be able to see it, to be able to understand it, right? To be able to learn from it. This isn't the energy that builds into the anxiety and letting the fears overrun what they're experiencing in the present. Because when we hold on to the fear too much, it becomes anxiety, it becomes worry, it becomes doubt about what's around the corner, instead of trusting our own ability to be able to navigate and face whatever's around that corner. So there's a lot of this energy that I keep on seeing, that's the energy that says to one another, and the ability of being present in the moment, I can hold the reins, right? Because in that moment, the reins that we hold, right? When we look at the Chariot card, we've got those two energies there. And that is the ability to, again, be present in the moment, to hold the past in a way that you don't allow it to make you bitter, to be able to see it, to learn from it, to grow from it, to expand, to be able to hold on to the future with hope. Not anxiety, with fear, not with fear, with excitement and hope, not fear and anxiety. Because when we're able to do that, we are able to steer ourselves. We're able to come into that space of recognizing and building into the pathwork of determination by which we say, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I know who I'm going to find there. And it's going to be me. And I know that I am in the space that I can navigate whatever that might be. And so there's something about that energy that as soon as they see that in the counterpart, what do they hear? You are safe with me because I am safe within the context and framework of the self. Continuing to get clarification, and that's happening across all of the frequencies. Continuing to get clarification between our Two of Swords in combination with our Sun card in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification with the Queen of Cups. This is having a different impact right now on masculine and feminine energy. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. For feminine energy, there's a lot of this work. Feminine, and I keep on hearing both of these energies right now, and then this is why I got to keep on describing this. This is not the same work right now. This is, I keep on hearing, it's synchronous. It's synchronous work. Because these are energies that are working through different lessons. What is the work that the feminine is working on? This is the feminine saying that honoring the emotions and honoring the emotions of others does not require the feminine to discard their own emotions, right? This is the feminine energy that's building into the context. And I told you, this is feminine energy that's building into the context of not feeling like it is villainous to be able to honor the emotions of the self, right? And that's not the feminine energy becoming bitter. That is the feminine articulating and laying those energetic standards, right? Because this is the feminine that says, when I articulate my frustration, not in a way that I'm projecting it outwards, right? Not in a way that I'm internalizing it within, but I talk productively through it, right? I set those energetic standards around the self. And if someone else is reactive in that context, then I understand and let that be a learning moment in relationality to what that energetic connection is, right? Because the ability to honor, like the ability to love, is being able to rest in the stability point of feeling safe that our standards are being honored, right? That's why we keep on hearing the feminine that says, never do I feel more loved than when my ability to say no, or my ability to come into the space of articulating something that one would rather not do. Like, that's the energy of the feminine that feels loved in the arms of feeling like they don't always have to be in that space of affirmation. And that's why a lot of the energy of the feminine saying to masculine that this is the energy that says, I don't just go in the space of feeling, that honoring my feelings is like feeling them all the time. This is a feminine that says, I do the work to make sure that I'm bringing my own prescription to those feelings. For masculine, I see a lot of this work is masculine healing from the perception that in order to be masculine, they couldn't have any feelings. Like, masculine's looking at something here, and I just keep on seeing masculine. And this is why I keep on hearing it's hard for masculine right now, because I feel like masculine's trying to stitch themselves back together again. Because if this is the masculine that was trying to come into that work of finding their masculinity by letting go of the thing that makes them energetically human, the thing that is a part of their soul, this is a masculine that says, I can be in my masculine energy. And being able to be strong in that context isn't just shutting off the emotions, right? Because then when the emotions come, I have no control over them, and then nobody's safe around me, right? Right? It creates that explode. Like that's a kettle that's about to pop. This is a masculine that says, I learn to integrate my emotions. I learn to feel safe experiencing them. I learn to be able to articulate through them. Because when I learn to do that, I become strong, because I say to those around me, I am in control of my emotions. My emotions do not guide me. I guide through them. Continuing to get clarity, and that's happening across all of the frequencies. Continuing to get clarification between our sun card in its reversal in combination with our strength card in its reversal. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with our 8 of Swords in its reversal. So I keep on I got to stress this, and I would definitely encourage you to go take a look at yesterday's reading spread compared to today's. Yesterday's was like heavy on the wands, right? It was very grounded. It was very passionate. There was a lot of that feeling of, I keep on seeing like bringing things into a point of tangibility. This is a more cerebral kind of energy that I'm seeing right now. That's why it feels more like air sign energy. It feels more conductive. It feels more like Gemini, because it's a lot of conversation. It's a lot of that like it's giving me like the rapidness of like bouncing ideas off one another, or feeling like those moments of energetic inspiration. And I keep on seeing that there's something for the energy in separation right now that allows that context by which, I keep on recognizing and identifying, it feels, I feel like there's some energy right now in separation is healing from situations where they were afraid to articulate their frustration because they felt like another person would take it personally, right? And here's the thing about it, and this is what we talk about when it comes to healthy communication. When we're in a space of being able to air frustration, that sometimes, again, it allows for that context in order to be able to build into productivity. Right? It allows some context by which you can identify and recognize what it is that you're trying to change. It's like a lot of it's like, you got to think about it kind of like clearing the air, right? But often this is why we work on not taking things personally, because when we're trying to clear the air and another person is over focusing on the self and someone's always taking something personally, it's often that context where it feels like we can't be in our authenticity because of another person's misperception of something. So I keep on seeing that there's a lot of energy right now, coming into, in separation, that is building into, either moving away from a connection where they've realized what the issue is and articulating that to another and feeling the relief when someone's saying yes, I understand completely what it is that you're saying. Or these are modalities of new energetic connections wherein a lot of that airing of frustration as it relates to how one was trying to fix something, or articulating upon, I keep on hearing, the impossibility matrix. You know, like they keep on saying, the ability to articulate upon the impossibility matrix, being able to identify the impasse by which you recognized and identified that there was nothing tangible that one could do. There's energy there that feels like that additional relief, because again, that's the energy that says, you know, you're able to see something very clearly. And that's the energy that says, it's not clear. I'm still feeling very frustrated about it. Well, for masculine and feminine energy right now, coming into divine union, this is why I keep on seeing that this is the energy that says to one another, you know, the journey, and again, the journey of becoming is one that it always feels, I have to point this out, there's always something about that feels like it strikes a lower note, right? And this is why we talk about the space that we look for those points of expansion, because in the pathwork of learning, there's always some kind of context by which we regret something. There's always something that we wish we could have seen sooner. But this is why I keep on seeing that for a lot of that energy, working in the context of setting the intention as it relates to what one can do in the present, it feels like a release and a relief. Because this is the energy that effectively articulates and identifies what it is that they're working towards in order to build forward bigger and better, right? Like building into the context of the self. But the bigger and better isn't the demands outside of the self. It is the demands within, right? Well, for masculine and feminine energy right now, I feel like there's a lot of energy right now deep within divine union, landing upon ideas is what I keep on getting. Landing upon ideas, having energetic breakthroughs. And it does, there's a little bit of this energy today. And that's why I keep on describing it as a bit of like Gemini energy, because there's like a snap, crackle, pop to it that feels very like, it feels very productive, right? But that's the thing, when we're able to navigate through our frustration, we're sometimes able to find those points that we're able to communicate very effectively. Continuing to get clarification between our Magician energy in its reversal and our Queen of Cups. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now. There's that Devil card. Let's talk about it, because again, you know, and I got to tell you, you'll remember what I said. What did I say? What did I tell you guys? Like the thing is, like when we're coming out of these like eclipse cycles, sometimes they can be even rougher, because the thing about it is, I keep on describing, it's the eclipse come down. You know, like everybody's all ramped up about the eclipse, and then the eclipse ends and everything kind of feels like it goes back to the way it is. But because the thing is, you have to understand, eclipses don't have characteristics. They're amplifiers, right? They just crank the volume knob on things. And the thing is, like the volume, we're still going through, like the message is, we're still going through the same exact energy that we were experiencing during the eclipse cycle. Like just because the eclipse is pulling back, the energetic, the astrological experience of going through the Venus retrograde and the Mercury retrograde is still happening. So don't be like, oh, good, like I can start taking things personally again. No, like don't. Like I'm telling you right now, sometimes it's like coming out of these cycles is worse, because then you feel a little bit of the vertigo of like the dizziness of, I keep on hearing like the dizziness of coming out of the eclipse. So it's just don't be triggered right now. It's not that you can't do something, just be intentional with what you're doing, right? You don't have to be afraid of doing something as long as you're intentional, right? It just make sure that you're building in pathwork of intention, and not just coming to the space of doing something that feels like it's energetic projection, right? Like, and again, like that indulgence point and the way we are able to, and again, if you're feeling like you're not sure about what that is, I want to remind you, feels good is good. Okay. Feels good is good. And what is feels good is good, which is like those moments or modalities where the higher self says, this is the directional point. And the ego says, oh, goody. Right? Like the ego, right? The higher self and the ego go, yes, that seems correct, right? So let that help navigate. Okay. Continuing to get clarification. And not what's easy. Okay. Like, not what's easy. Not, again, feels good is good. Okay. Okay, continuing to get clarification between our Queen of Cups in its reversal and our Eight of Swords in its reversal. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with our Three of Cups. So, and this is this is a clarification coming through right now with our Three of Cups. So, and this is this is a thing. It's like one of the things that we I want to tell you. Okay, I'm going to just repeat the same exact stuff that we've been saying during the eclipse cycle. Nothing has changed. Okay? We're still working through the context where there's things that feel like they're energetically breaking down. Okay? That's the Mercury retrograde. And then on top of it, we have a lot of the Venus retrograde, which creates that feeling of distorted perception. So, I wanted to just kind of bring up the fact that like a lot of that work in terms of recognizing and identifying that, not taking things personally right now, moving into the context of what feels like it's energetically productive, right? Because we keep on seeing this, like, when we come into I need to point this out, like it's very easy right now to want to take things personally. But instead, if we're able to navigate things with a sense of compassion, like that is the compassion, like allowing compassion to guide right now, allowing your compassion to lead, it's going to create its own sense of release and relief, right? Because a lot of that, it's like working through a bit of this indulgence point. I know that it's energetically heavy. I know that it's energetically difficult, but I want you to continue to remember that the solution to a lot of the work that we're doing right now exists in the lesson that we were working through prior to this one, which was all of that. Remember all of that Leo full moon energy? That when we're feeling like when we feel like things are too heavy and we say to ourselves, it's an honor to carry it, it changes our perception, right? Not coming into that woe is me or woe is them, but allowing for that amplification of finding what feels like it brings us together instead of feeling like we're falling apart. Continuing, final card for today's spread between the Devil card in combination with our Three of Cups in its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Four of Swords in its reversal. And I like this because, again, and I need to point this out, I feel like there's something about this that's very interesting and intriguing because I feel like I see some energy right now. Okay, I'm going to talk about what I'm seeing across the frequencies. For energy and separation, I see one of three different modalities happening. I'm seeing situations or circumstances wherein there is an identifiable point that's happening in some connections as to seeing what the problem is, right? It's like I see like the breakthrough that someone is having is identifying the circumstance or situation. And this is honestly, like, this is how we heal from karma. Because the thing about it, and I got to point this out, because karma, like I need to point this out, karma is not the space of just forgiving everything. Karma is understanding and working through an energetic lesson. It's understanding the reasons why something is the way it is. And sometimes we heal karma. It's frustrating, right? It's not ideal, right? It's not that space. It's like identifying what the energetic, again, when you're working through a good lesson, the solution is understanding what the problem is. So I want you to think about it like that. The ability of being able to navigate that allows that context where it's not about everything becoming okay and not caring about things. It's about understanding why something is the way that it is, right? The healing comes via the understanding. And that's why we talk a lot about the fact that sometimes the reason trauma is formed is when we're in circumstances that make absolutely no sense. And often one of the things we have to heal from is sometimes when we're in a situation that makes no sense, we're continually trying to apply logic to it, hoping that the logic is going to fix the situation. But the thing is, trauma gobbles up logic. There's no amount of logic you can bring to a traumatic situation, because if the trauma is formed by a lack of a lack of sense, and you try to bring sense to it, then sometimes we have these moments that we recognize that the difficulty point comes in the fact that we're trying to feed logic to trauma, right? And that's that moment that we sometimes, again, we can feel frustrated, but we can identify that that is what is occurring. And then we can recognize and identify the best thing we can do is just move away from it, right? That's like, those moments are painful. They're frustrating. And that's the thing, but it is seeing something. And sometimes, and again, sometimes things come back from the past and we have the ability to heal the trauma. Sometimes they come back and it just reaffirms the exact reason why we had to move away from something or someone or some situation in the first place. I feel like a lot of that is happening right now across all the frequencies, emotionally, spiritually, or physically. This is what happens when Neptune moves. This is like... and I'm not one to always say like something from the past is returning, but I need to stress it is the observation in recognizing and understanding what the hurdle is that becomes its own breakthrough point. And I keep on seeing that there is some kind of release and relief that's occurring right now for energy and separation, potentially in identifying the hurdle, right? And for a lot of the energy right now that's coming into partnership, coming out of separation, it is being able to work to build with someone that it also understands that you have to take hurdles together. Like you have to be moving in accordance with one another in order to get anywhere. Because when you're not moving in accordance with one another, you get in a tug of war, right? The only way to get anywhere is if you mutually want to go somewhere. Because if not, you often get in a tug of war situation. And that just like, again, it may feel like attractive. It may feel like, but this is the energy saying, I don't find that romantic. I don't find tug of war romantic. I find getting somewhere very romantic. So I keep on hearing that this is energy that's building into a new sense of romance. Like they're letting go. They're like, that's not romantic. That's tug of war. Like this is like going somewhere, like going somewhere is romantic. While for masculine and feminine energy, coming into divine union, this is the energy that is seeing themselves in a whole different way. And this is the energy that says to each other, I'm not perfect. And that's the energy that says, you're not perfect, but you're working on being perfect. And that's why I love you, right? This is the energy that says every day we give ourselves the opportunity to continue forward. And it's not about, again, some days we feel like, I keep on seeing, some days we feel like we, like sometimes like, and like some days we like, and I need to point this out, like this is the energy that says, we always move in we always move in the same direction. And we hold each other with love, even as we stumble, right? And so even in those moments that we have those points where we get frustrated with ourselves, this is the energy that says, I love you, keep going, right? And that's why I keep on hearing that, like, it's interesting because, like, the energy deep within divine union is in a space where I told you it's all Gemini and Taurus energies, which is like they're totally willing to tussle because this is the energy that says, when something is important, we're willing to engage with someone on it. We're willing to activate on it, right? Because it is the moment that we articulate and say something has meaning that we are able to define who we are. And so I keep on hearing that there's a lot of energy right now, finding the ability to express why something has meaning, because that is the energy that says that is the force of love. Bottom of the deck on today's reading. I am so happy to see this card. I am very happy. Here's the thing. It's bottom of the deck. So the bottom of the deck right now is the Temperance card. The only thing that's a bit of a, like, it's not the only thing. There's a lot of things that are like working, that work in conjunction right now that feel like a little messy. But like the thing that is hard right now is that there's a lot of planets in Aries. Okay. There's a lot of planets moving into Aries. And the thing is, and any Aries knows this, Aries, we're not so great with the patience. But I need to stress this. And this is often the misunderstanding that those with Aries placements will understand this. Aries, it's not that Aries don't have patience. They don't have patience for things that aren't going anywhere. You tell me Aries don't have patience. I'll tell you, watch an Aries helping someone learn how to do something. Watch an Aries that has something that they see someone struggling to get better at. Aries will become the most patient person on the planet because Aries is always looking for one word and one word only, and that is try. The energy that is trying, the energy that is working to do better, the energy that is trying to grasp something. Suddenly, in that context, you'll find that Aries become the most patient person on the planet because they know what it means to try to build in accordance of working through frustration as they're trying to do something better. So again, if you're feeling frustrated right now, give something some patience. That is the force of compassion. Right? The compassion that we give ourselves is articulated in the patience that we give ourselves to work through something. The compassion we give those around us is the patience we give as we see someone actively trying to do something in a better way. So I keep on seeing like that's the calibration point that's happening right now, which is a difference of energy that says wait, but doesn't want to change versus the energy that says you don't have to wait. I'm trying, I'm doing something, right? And that's the energy that says, if someone says I'm trying, someone's saying you're putting a qualifier on something that you're actively doing, right? That is I keep on hearing the patient, the breath, the sacred breath of partnership is the exhalation point in articulating what needs to change. And it's matched with the productivity in changing. It is the ever-expanding breath. A healthy relationship, we find our patience is indefinite because when we find that sacred breath in partnership, the ability to express a need and have that need met, the even energetic exchange of asking and receiving. I keep on seeing that this is energy that is not looking for patience in partnership. They're looking for the sacred breath. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and receiving it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can do so on my site. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. I also want to let you guys know about a couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who participated in our recent class on the Justice card. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, April 16th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Hanged Man. I am so excited to teach this class with you guys. We're going to go over the symbology of the card, the history of the card. I'm going to work you through the spread applications. I'm also going to be presenting a unique spread specifically oriented towards the lessons of the Hanged Man. And all you need to do if you'd like to become a part of that class program is become a paid subscriber to my Substack. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into my live classes each and every month. You will also have access as a paid subscriber to monthly subscriber to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library Archive. It's not necessary to catch up. I'll do my best to give you updates on everything that we've studied thus far in those classes. But now is a great time to join because you have about you have a couple of weeks to be able to bone up if you want to meet, if you want to have all the classes under your belt before we meet. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we're studying or have studied thus far. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you will also receive full entry into the entirety of the Tarot Church archive. That's over 12 hours worth of class material in an ever-expanding library. You'll also have access to a one-on-one. You'll also have access to a complimentary mentorship class with me, wherein I will assess where you are on your personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in the class program. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. You'll also be notified as to any giveaway information and any offerings that we are hosting. Speaking of offerings, I'm very happy on top of my standard life path readings to also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my clients seeking a more consistent, seeking a more personalized experience learning from me. Those classes are I take a very limited number of students for those classes as they are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm very happy also now to offer dream interpretation readings. You can purchase them per dream or as a package. I would ask if you're going to purchase a dream package to make sure that you start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again